Hi there, ho there, all you cool cats and kittens. Shell Brodnax here with another episode of Newbie Webinars. I am super excited today, but first I would love for y'all to help me check our technology. So in that chat box, go ahead and type in there where you're from and that you can hear me. So if you type in where you're from, you can probably hear me, unless you can read my lips, but I still want to know where that you can actually hear me. Beautiful. Okay, so I am super excited today because we have a new guest and it's Jacquelin Franklin. And I'm really excited because Jacquelin is now on the 2021 RESA Board of Directors. So welcome, Jacquelin. It's your first time.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm happy to join and hopefully share some really valuable information with everybody today.
Absolutely. So I'm super excited, but can you give everybody just a little bit of a background? Where are you from? How long have you been in business? Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm from New York and I've been in business for 5 years, predominantly working with clients in the New York metro area. So that's like Manhattan, Brooklyn, Hudson County, New Jersey, and other parts of like Westchester and so forth. But yeah, we've been working with various different real estate brokers and like independent homeowners. And now that I'm a part of the board and here today with Shell, hoping that the both of us will provide you newbies with some really great information that will be helpful and with you and your business initiatives while you're setting yourselves up too.
Absolutely. So I always like to kind of break the ice by letting everybody know I do use a lot of humor, or what I think is funny. Sometimes you might not, but we will get through it together. I'm also a Tony Robbins strategic intervention coach. I went through that program a while back. So sometimes we ask a question. I might rephrase that question back to you in a way that will make your mind just go, wow, I never thought of it that way. And it's not in an effort to discount your question, but it's in an effort to actually change your mindset, to be able to expand your mindset a little bit to get you see something differently. So usually if that's going to happen, I will kind of warn you about it. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. Are you ready?
Ready.
I'm ready. All right. I can figure out my arrows don't work. There you go. So first question is, what is the best way to build partnerships with realtors? You want to go ahead and take this one, Jacquelin?
Yeah, so building partnerships with realtors can be a little bit intimidating because you don't know, do you actually just cold call the real estate firm? Do you attend certain open houses? How do you network? So the best way that I found in my personal experience to partner with realtors is by reaching out to people through LinkedIn. It's a professional platform. There are a lot of people who are on there. They're looking to be able to connect for business. So it's better than Instagram and Facebook, which there's kind of more of a social component, and they're looking more of partnering with people on the sales side as far as moving the properties. But through LinkedIn, you could really like show your background, your education, what you've done. And it's a very non-threatening, non-invasive kind of way to just like connect and put yourself out there. And you'll be surprised how many people will be responsive to you and be open to at least setting up a call. And then hopefully that leads to a consultation or a meeting, or even for you to be invited into the real estate firm to pitch the entire team, that maybe you could have a partnership with multiple agents within the real estate firm that leads to a lot of business for your staging company.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I actually think that LinkedIn is very underrated.
It's very underused. You'll be surprised.
It totally is.
Yeah.
And I know this because I probably have like 476 messages in my LinkedIn that I just I don't go in it on the day. I don't go in it on the daily. I don't do it on the weekly, and I don't do it. I don't even know if I go in there twice a year. I mean, if I get an email message and it's something that really catches me, I'll probably log into it. But it is very, very underused. I agree. And I'm going to add to this too, is that a lot of new stagers, they go out and it's kind of like they shove themselves down an agent's throat.
Yes, yes.
That is the biggest mistake. And
the biggest turnoff for a broker.
Biggest turnoff. What makes you want something even more is when you can't have it, right?
Exactly.
So remember when you're younger and you were interested in somebody and they were just, They didn't even look at you. You wanted that person more than anything in this world.
You're like, please, just give me one moment to show you're interested. Like,
exactly. So be a little elusive. I mean, you don't want to be as elusive as, Bigfoot or something like that, but you want a little an air of mystery about you. Because when you start shoving yourselves down their throats, you come off as very thirsty. And that is a ginormous red flag that says, hey, I'm a newbie and I don't know what I'm doing. So even if you're a newbie and you don't know what you're doing, learn that first to be a little elusive and have a little air of mystery about you. And you're going to get a lot further. And then you can actually build a relationship. So if you go somewhere to a networking event, the goal shouldn't be to collect 50 business cards or hand out 50 business cards. Get 5 good ones. 5 good ones. 5 great conversations with somebody. And if you're sitting at a meal with somebody at a luncheon somewhere and at the table, everybody's chit-chatting with each other and they happen to mention, oh, this, peach cobbler for dessert, I absolutely love it. It reminds me of my Grams. Man, I'd be going home and I would be looking up, Googling award-winning peach
cobbler recipes
and saying, hey, I know you mentioned this at lunch today. I thought I'd pass this on to you. Yeah. I just happened to stumble across it online. And send that to them. Build a relationship. Talk about other things first before business. So that's my feedback on that one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's so important.
So Kelly's asking, how do I close the deal with potential clients? I'm good at selling the product and showing them the benefits of staging. So here's Kelly. If you're good at selling the product and showing them the benefits, it should pretty much close itself.
It should.
What I will say is that a lot of the close is not at the end, the close is at the beginning. Yes. So again, it's all about that relationship that you're building with somebody. And this is what I will also tell everybody as well. Confidence. Confidence is one of those things that really, it's very difficult to teach it to somebody. You can't teach it. You have to experience it.
You have to.
Confidence, you're never going to get there unless you just do it over and over and over. So anybody that knows me knows that I'm a cowgirl. I ride horses. I started very late in life, in my mid 40s, and I was terrified of everything. And it's because the people that taught me at first, they told me every scariest thing that could possibly happen to you. And I was no. Can't ever do anything. And when you're in your 40s, you've got stuff to lose. It's not like, and you don't bounce like you used to either. So you're very cautious about everything. So I knew this old cowboy was actually riding his horse one night, an old roping horse, Yankee. And I said, Andy, how I get on and I'm just so scared sometimes. And I'm afraid of the speed. And he looked at me and he goes, Shell, you are not a bad rider at all. You don't give yourself enough credit. But the only thing that's going to help you is time in the saddle. You've got to do it over and over.
Get comfortable.
Got to get comfortable with it. So it's the same thing when you're selling. So I know a lot of people, and I'm just going to use round numbers. I know stagers, if you have 2 stagers and one goes into a job and they can bid it at $10,000 and another stager can go in and bid it at $5,000 and they're not confident, the $10,000 stager is going to get that job because she goes in and she delivers the information like she's working at a fast food window. And it's like at McDonald's when I go in, 2 or 3 times a week to get my sausage McMuffin and small coffee with 3 creams and 3 sugars. When I go up to the window, they say $2.76, please. Like she thinks I'm actually going to give it to her. And that's how it's got to be when you're talking about any type of deal, especially when it's coming to the price. It's just delivering it with a little bit of dryness, directness, firmness, and confidence. What do you think?
Absolutely. I agree. Like if like you said, you should be able to define whether or not a potential client is interested from the first, I think, like 5 minutes. There are certain key words, like if you're going along with the conversation and you're saying, oh, okay, this is what we do. And then they say, so what's the next step? Anytime somebody asks you what's the next step, they're invested. They want to know more. And then if they say, okay, so what's the process for the consultation? You have to look for those little cues in the conversation to know that you're actually delivering your pitch in the right way. And a lot of real estate brokers have an alpha mentality. So confidence is very important when you're working with people like that. If they think you're unsure of yourself, or if they can sense that through your body language and your delivery, then ultimately they won't have the confidence in you to be able to sell their property rather quickly and hopefully above ask. So you also have to know your audience. I think that's really key. So when you're working with brokers, then that's the case. If you're working with homeowners, it's a little bit different. If you're working with homeowners, you want them to feel that they could trust you. You want them to feel that you're invested in whatever aspirations are leading them to want to sell their home, whether that's they're downsizing because they're empty nesters, or they're maybe relocating because their family's expanding. You want to have that type of connection that Shell was speaking of. So that way they feel that they could trust you, and ultimately they're going to be in good hands and you have their best interests at heart. So if you feel that you're not necessarily closing deals, maybe do like a little run through. It might sound a little cheesy, but a little run through, test it out with a friend or a family member, and just get a feel for, what you're saying and how you're delivering it. Because if you're not necessarily closing, that's probably where you're losing out, or you're not because once you're really delivering it properly, it should close, like Shell said, on its own, right? And you don't have to put in much extra effort to bring it the full distance. So those would be my little tips that I would give today that hopefully will be helpful, because those are really key to being able to close more deals and build more revenue for your staging business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree on the run through. Practice, practice, practice. I mean, I remember when I was back in drama club in high school, you'd have to prepare a monologue. You have to go in on Friday afternoon and give your monologue in front of the entire class. And the tip was practice in front of the mirror.
Yes.
And it sounds corny. I know it
does. But
it works. Just do it. It works. I don't know why it works, but there's just something about it. And just get yourself as educated as you possibly can. And when you do your little run through to yourself, whether it be with your spouse, a friend, a relative, or the mirror, when you're doing something, start out by practicing what flows from your mouth.
Yes, it has to be natural.
The smoothest, whatever it is that you're passionate about. If you have a spiel that you can give that just, rolls off your tongue like you can do it in your sleep, start with that and get that one down even further. But practice that one in front of the mirror so you get used to it, and then move on to something else. But yeah, I totally agree. The trust factor too on the homeowners is crucial. People don't always buy from you just because you have a product that they need. They buy from you because they trust you.
Yeah, they trust you and they like you. And it's a part of what we do. It's all relationships based. So in order to build and forge strong relationships, you have to be able to build trust, and you do have to have likability because they have to work with you. And it's very personal. It's someone's home. And with the real estate broker, they have to know that, their time is money. Real estate brokers are very numbers oriented people. Their time is their money. They're trying to move as many properties as possible. If they're not running their own firm, then they're on, maybe they're one of the junior brokers and are trying to make their way up to be given the better listings. They need people who are partners with them that are going to move their properties and help them achieve those goals. So just think about those things when you're actually pitching to various different parties, whether it's on the real estate broker side or an individual homeowner, because you do have to, pivot or tweak your narrative a little bit. But you do always want to be authentic. If it seems like too much of a hard sell, people can feel that, they can sense that, and ultimately it'll turn them off because it's like you're reading from a script. So these are things that you can integrate and just try and do in a way, like Shell said, is natural for you. And then you'll find a lot of success and a lot more progress with your initiatives going forward.
Yep. And an ego-driven broker, they can smell fear a mile away.
Oh yeah, they're like sharks. They can smell blood in the water.
They'll be all over you. Yeah. So get your confidence up, practice it, and you too will be able to tackle that ego-driven agent.
Yeah, and they'll always come back to you. Once you win their trust, they will always come back to you.
Always. It's kind of like a bully sometimes when you stand up to a bully and pop them right between the nose. What do?
Exactly.
They go away, never leave. They leave you alone. But once you gain that trust, they're yours for life. So
yeah, that's very true.
Great advice. So here, Candace wants to know, what is the best way to reach out to agents that don't believe in staging or think they can do it better themselves? So here's one of those times that I told you about that I'm going to flip the question around, Candace.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, do you really want to? Do you really want to invest so much of your time trying to convince someone out there that just doesn't get it? So this is my advice. I'm all about a challenge. trust me, if I can flip somebody, I am all over it. But it's got to be worth it to be able to flip them. And so when you go in, you make your best pitch. If you go in and you do your best flipping pitch and you can't do it, cut your ties, move on to the next one. This is a numbers game. So what I would want you to start thinking about is start keeping track of your sales ratios. So for example, start in lots of 10. For every 10 people you spoke to and pitched your services to, how many deals did you close? If you start out at 1, fantastic. Raise your goal to 2, raise it to 3, raise it to 4, raise it to 6. Start keeping track of that and actually write it down. Keep an Excel spreadsheet. What went well, what didn't go well, what's going to go better next time? What are you going to change through what I call a talk off to somebody? So I wouldn't spend so much time trying to convince people that don't believe in it. And if the ones that think they can do it better themselves, and if it really truly looks more like what we call vignette staging or unfinished staging. So I see a lot of pictures online with agents that have staged, and I have it in our CE class, where it just looks like a little vignette, and they say, oh, I just want to warm up the space. And it's like,
yeah,
that did nothing to warm up the space. It actually makes it now look unprofessional, unfinished, and more empty than it does if it was completely vacant. Using a vacant as an example. So if you've got somebody that's an agent that's staging on their own and they're doing that type of warm-up vignette staging, the only thing that you can do at that point is you do your amazing staging jobs and then follow up after a while and submit your work to win a RESA award. And then when you become Professional Stager of the Year, or if you're a newbie and you make the top 10 list or you win that category, then you do a little press release and you do social media releases and you make sure they're on your distro list so they see that. And that agent is going to look at their own work, and then they're going to look at your work. And
they're going to see the difference.
Maybe I can rethink that. What do you have to add to this one?
I think everything you're saying is completely spot on. If someone is if they think that they're better equipped than you are, you're going to waste so much valuable time trying to convince them why they need you. And so if they've already decided that they don't, then you are better off moving forward. And what you may need to look at as well is, are you going and seeking these people out, or is this possibly related to how you're marketing your business? Because that's something you also have to consider. How you're marketing your staging services or your business is directly connected to who actually reaches out to you as a prospect. So if you find you're getting brokers who are just kind of like kicking the tires, not really interested, maybe trying to get some free information, or just kind of, passing through and think that you're talented, but then not really invested, you might want to reevaluate your marketing strategies, because you might be attracting the wrong type of prospect and therefore wasting your time with them. So what Shell was saying in regards to building an Excel spreadsheet and keeping track of that, do that in regards to your marketing as well, because you'll notice a correlation between the two, that if as you're going through, and since you're new, please, I went through it myself when I first started my staging business. It was a bit of trial and error. You're not going to get everything right, and that is natural, and you shouldn't feel defeated or, like you don't trust yourself because of that. We all go through it. It's a natural part of the process, but keeping track of those things will let you see the patterns. Then you'll be able to define easier where you're actually making more headway and you're sourcing better leads that are going to translate into true clients, and you're able to build the right relationships, because your time is money too. So you want to make sure you're investing it in the right places and with the right clients and the prospects too. Going through the prospect phase of, just vetting people is very time consuming. And, unless you're trying to do a staging business where it's very heavily consultation based, then you don't really want to invest too much of your time in that. So these types of tools will help you kind of pinpoint what are your strengths, and maybe it's like, maybe you're getting a lot of vacant staging offers. Maybe you're getting people of a certain age group, because the tone of your marketing is, resonating more with millennials, or maybe resonating more with boomers. So those types of things inform what you should do in regards to how you present yourself, how you present the business, your services, and therefore what type of business you're able to generate.
I love what you said about reevaluating your marketing to see what it is that you're attracting, because that is so true, Jacquelin. And here's the thing. I know I talk a lot about the law of attraction and intention and putting things out there, But it's really true. Whatever you're thinking that you are, whatever your internal dialogue is, that's what you're going to kind of attract to you. And like when you put prices on your website, if you put really low pricing on your website, you're going to attract people that can barely afford that.
Yeah. And then when you want to raise those prices, they'll think you're trying to cheat them because they've known that your prices have been relatively low for a long time. And now the thinking will be, well, why all of a sudden are you raising them? The value that people will see in you and your services won't be what you truly deserve because you underpriced it, which is so much a tactic everyone, I think in every industry tends to do. If you're in the restaurant industry, if you're in the staging industry, if you're in the real estate, I think everyone has a tendency when they're new to try and price their services very low to undercut the competition. And in doing that, you're actually doing a disservice to yourself because you're establishing a mentality people will have around you and your business and what its value is. So you want to be priced fairly, but don't necessarily go, because there's a range for everything depending on which market you're in. But you want to make sure that you're not all the way at the bottom of that range. And then that way you make it more challenging for you to scale your business up.
Yeah, I could not agree more with that. And set your intention about it. What type of client do you want? You'd be surprised. As soon as you start putting things out in the universe, all of a sudden it shows up. A few weeks ago, I run a boarding stables where I live now. I just bought a 23-acre horse farm last year. So,
nice.
I know. I love it.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I love horses.
Well, you will have to come in. I will put you on my horse brick.
Everybody I will take you up on that. Like, don't think I won't.
That's all right. We're big farm here. We got room. So what I did was a couple weeks ago, it's like I had a lot of people with pasture board wanting the pasture board, and they all want to feed their horses grain. I don't know why to do that. But
really,
like, okay, I will do that for them. And then it got to be too much with all the horses because they all want to murder each other when it comes time to eating. If you're feeding grain. Hay is not a big deal. You can throw hay all day long, and they don't try to kill you or each other.
But grain's a delicacy.
Exactly. So I just sat there one night and I said, man, I just really wish I could get more stall boarders in because that would solve a lot of this problem. 2 days later, somebody called, they want 2 stalls. Boom. A couple days later, I had another one that wanted more. I'm like, I'm full now. I can't take any more people. So if you put it out there, you will start attracting that. And then if you find you are attracting something, like Jacquelin said, review your marketing strategy, especially if you want to change it, and then tweak it so you can start attracting exactly what you want.
And I do want to add something that is continuous. So tweaking your marketing strategy isn't do it once and you're done type of situation. Your business is organic. It grows. It has like a life of its own. So maybe you don't have to do it every quarter, but at least biannually or at least annually, you will find that you will serve better as far as the type of clients, the type of projects, and the revenue you're generating for your business. The performance will be that much greater and more positive if you're actually gradually working through things and then consistently revamping your marketing and tweaking it. It doesn't have to be a major overhaul, but you do have to pay close attention to that because as your business grows, the type of clients you attract changes, the way you run your business changes, you're expanding your team. So your marketing has to be conducive to allowing for you to provide for all of those things. And, you also want to make sure you're enjoying who you're working with. So you want to definitely look at it for those reasons as well. It's an ongoing process. It's not a one shot and you're done type of situation.
Yep, for sure. For sure. So, Jacquelin, what was your biggest struggle starting or your biggest confusion starting your business, and how did you work it out?
So my biggest struggle when I started was the inability to say no. Because I was so grateful to be able to have these new clients and these new opportunities, and certain asks were, not was excessive for what I was being paid. And I thought, well, if I just, do a really great job and if I help them move their property really quickly, then, it'll all be worth it. But then I found myself actually making less than what I should for the time and energy that I was investing. And that is counterproductive to your business being stable and being able to thrive. So that was one of the greatest challenges, that I'm a person that can say no, but in that capacity, I found myself struggling with it. And then also setting strict timelines for yourself. Like I had one project where I was working with a real estate broker and there was a contractor on the project. And I knew I needed, because of the size of the property, I knew I needed like a week and a half to do the project. And because the contractor kept extending the timeline, I ultimately ended up with like 3 days. And I was trying to do the impossible in that amount of time, and learned very quickly that you have to stand your ground. You have to be able to ask for what you deserve, set your limitations, and stand your ground into what is really good for you, to make sure that you're actually able to deliver what you were intending to deliver, and being able to be realistic with what you're doing on each project. And I think a lot of newbies have that same problem, right? You're so grateful for the job, you're so grateful for the opportunity, and you want to please them and get the really great review and get the photos, and and the money kind of is secondary to it, but you have to make sure that you're considering all of that and know your worth, right? Like, I wasn't really standing for what I knew my worth was, and therefore wasn't necessarily getting the type of opportunities that really spoke to the value I was bringing to the partnership. So that's something that I could say was my personal experience. And I know many other newbies share that same type of reality, and learn from my mistake. Don't do that to yourself. Actually, make sure you set your limitations, make sure you outline what your inclusions are going to be, what the timeline is that you need, and what you're going to charge for your services, and stand firmly behind that, because you deserve it. And this is going to help you greatly in how your business is established with its foundation, and then how you scale it up going forward.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Well said. And I've got nothing to add to that.
Oh,
that was perfect. Okay. So Susan would like to know, how do you get involved with a real estate agency? So I'm not really sure that I understand the question. So I'm going to see, is Susan on the line? Susan, you are on the line. I'm going to ask you to unmute. I think I just clicked it. Susan, are you with me?
I am, but I actually think that you answered that question in the beginning.
Okay.
About how to network.
Since you're on here, would you like to ask another one?
So, well, I am brand new to this. And so not even sure, other than networking on LinkedIn, how to get started.
Okay, well, let me add to this then for you, because in addition to LinkedIn, there's lots of other things that you can do just to get exposure. If you are a people person, my strongest advice to anybody who, if you're wanting to get business from agents, you need to party where they party. So yeah. I would join your local association of realtors. First, your local RESA chapter. If you don't have a chapter, form one. Get with Gina and Vanessa. They will help you do it. 2, local association of realtors, join as an affiliate member and go to their meetings. Most of them either have a weekly or a monthly marketing meeting. Most of them are weekly, and a lot of them do caravans where they go to all the new listings that have been posted that weekend. They'll go on a tour, maybe it's on a Monday or a Wednesday, and they tour it. And at their meetings, they have something called buyers, wants, and needs, where they stand up and say, I have a buyer who needs XYZ, or I have a seller who needs this. Whatever it might be, you can go to these meetings. There's usually a breakfast or a luncheon. They usually have a speaker at them as well. And that's where you can network. Women's Council of Realtors. If you have a Women's Council of Realtors in your area, RESA was patterned after the Women's Council of Realtors. It's a fabulous organization. I've been with them since 2002. I'm not involved on the daily anymore because I'm a little busy right now with RESA. But in the beginning, I was heavily involved. And if you're going to volunteer and get involved in any organization, get involved in volunteer roles that have to do with hospitality, number one, because if you're a greeter at a meeting, you can get your little badge with your company name and your name on it, and you're greeting everybody at the door, or you're checking them into the meeting, taking their payment, giving them their raffle ticket, whatever it might be. Now you've met, if 50 people go to that meeting, you've met 50 people that came through the door. Also, you can get involved as if they do a fundraiser or they do some sort of an event. Then with that, you can get involved with the decorations committee, or you can probably be the decorations committee. And with that, a lot of them have fundraisers throughout the year. They might have a crab feed, they might have a fashion show, and they need some sort of decor for some of these events. And if you carry your own inventory, you have accessories and decor, you might be able to lend your hand at that. So I think getting involved is really important. What I would caution anybody with is don't volunteer for a job that you're not suited for. So for me, I have not balanced my checkbook in 30 years. 30 years. I just don't do it. I can do it. I know how to do it. I don't enjoy doing it. I just kind of know when my checking account gets low, I need to fill it back up, and it just kind of happens. But I would never volunteer for anything that asked me to be a treasurer. I just don't like it. It's not my vibe. So if you are somebody that is not great at taking notes and being organized, do not volunteer for a secretary position.
Right.
If you love money and you like the finance and stuff, volunteer for the treasurer position. So get involved in something that you're good with, not something that you're not, because these agents, they're testing you out. They are going to see what you're doing. And if you flake and you don't show up to meetings, you're not going to get any business. So I hope that
Okay,
helps.
perfect. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for asking the question and for jumping on. So Melissa would like to know, what is the best way to create a pricing packet / breakdown for staging?
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah, go ahead and take that one, because I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, like, is she saying, is this for something to give as part of a kit to like a real estate firm, or because usually the pricing's established during the consultation?
So I don't see that Melissa's on. If you are, Melissa, unmute yourself. I've just gone through the carousel and I do not see you. So what's the best way to create a pricing packet or breakdown for staging? So we're not really sure we understand the question, but I think we might be able to kind of get through it if we dig through together, Jacqueline. So
Yes.
Pricing packet, that's absolutely right. You're going to, if you have a consultation with somebody or you already have your prices established, they're established. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe she might be meaning like breaking it down on an invoice, maybe, which I don't recommend that you do as a line item at all. I know back in the day, stagers used to say lamp, $2, 44 pillows, $1
Yeah,
each.
you should do it by room.
Yeah, I personally I wouldn't break down the actual inventory, because if in your inventory, something happens, something changes, you don't have something available, and you put that into an agreement, then they kind of lock you into it. So I would be a little bit more ambiguous. You're staging the living room, you're staging the dining room, you're staging this, and this is the total price for everything. That way people can't pick apart your bid and try to break that down, because what happens when you do line iteming is they'll say, well, I need to save some money. Do we really need that lamp?
Yes, and it's exactly. That's very true. I don't know if that's what she means by this question, but I do think that if that's the intention behind the question, then don't do a line item breakdown, because you will run into those problems that Shell just discussed, and you don't want to put yourself in that predicament. Sometimes you need to be flexible depending on how many properties you're staging simultaneously. So if you get that granular in your breakdown, you will run into those types of problems in the end.
Yeah. And I thought of another way she might mean it, that you just mentioned, is if she's really meaning, is there like a set price, like a 3-bedroom house or whatever, it's a package type kind of deal. I think over time, it really doesn't matter. There's so many ways to determine how you get to your pricing. Some people say, I'm going to price by the square foot. I'm going to do 1% of list price. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. These are all these gimmicks of how you come to the price. And the bottom line comes down to is it really doesn't matter how you come to the price. It just matters that your price is profitable. So I would say work backwards from your pricing. You need to make it worth it to get up in the morning and to drive out. So I would always have a minimum. You don't leave, and I'm using round numbers, adjust the numbers to whatever your market supports. So if your minimum is 2,500, you do not leave your driveway for less than 2,500 unless it's a consultation. But if it's an actual staging, maybe that's your minimum. Maybe it's 3,000. Maybe it starts at 6. It's whatever market you're in. And if you're a luxury, if you're an average stager, or average, not an average stager, but an average home working in average homes, if you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into something, because different projects are going to take different needs. So when I say work backwards, it's figure out what all your costs are that it takes you to do that actual job, and then just tack on whatever it is that you need to be able to be in profit mode to make it to be worth it to leave your driveway that day. So if all of your costs are $3,000 to get the job done, and you need $3,000 to make it worth it for you to have that profit, then it's $6,000 for the total bid. And you just kind of simplify it that way. So Melissa, if this doesn't answer your question, your kid's on a replay, shoot me an email and I'll be happy to answer that for you later. Okay, so Chrissy would like to know, she started with many consultations, but they don't provide fabulous photos. How do new stagers get those vacant staging jobs? Well, that is a great question. So if you're interested in getting into the vacants, you need to do some vacant work. So take a room in your home, your mommy's home, your daddy's home, your sister's home, a friend's home, a neighbor's home, anybody that will let you in their house. Ask them if you can give them a room makeover. Don't charge them for it, but clean out the room totally. You can even do it multiple ways. Take a picture of the room as it is, because you can use this as an occupied as well. That started out one way and you changed it, and you can use just their furniture to be able to do it. You can get that occupied look. Then remove everything out of that particular room, take a picture of it empty, and then bring other things in if it's something that you have. So just ask, get as many pictures as you can, but also know that you do not need a giant portfolio in order to get business as a stager when you're starting out. You need great photos and place them strategically on your website. Don't have a portfolio page. Just when you have your services page, you have one great photo, amazing photo. It's got to be professional photo as well, professional photography. You've got to invest in that. If you can't invest in professional photography in your own business to showcase your work, nobody's going to take you seriously. It screams newbie. If you've got your phone on and you're taking these photos, it is a big red flag that you are a newbie. So you definitely need to invest in some certain things so you are put forth more as a professional. What do you think?
I agree. I think ultimately going to everyone that you know, like Shell said, will allow for you to showcase your talent, because that's what everyone's looking for. Like, how would you stage a room? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a project you've already won. It could be just a room in someone else's home or even in your own home. I definitely do completely agree with professional photography. And you'll find there are a lot of different photographers at various different price points. Even if you have, for example, like a college or a university that's close by and someone's taking classes for photography, they're looking to build or maybe it's a new photographer, but they have a really great eye. They're looking to build their portfolio. You're looking to build your portfolio. You'll find that it's a win-win for both of you, that you'll be able to work something out where maybe if they can use the photos and you can use the photos, they will give you the photography at a lower cost, or maybe it's like a barter type of situation. So ultimately, there are many different ways that you can get professional grade photography if you can't afford the normal rate for a really high profile photographer. You just want to make sure it has a certain, like a crisp kind of quality and a very, very clean kind of quality. And real estate photography is a lot cheaper than, like, for example, interior design or interior architecture. So there are a lot of great professionals you could find in your area, I'm sure, where you can actually be able to capture beautiful photos and start to build, the type of credibility and the type of presence that you will generate the kind of business your company will need.
Yep, absolutely. And most real estate photography is under $400, and they give you a whole lot of photos. So if you're doing something limited, reach out. I think it's a great idea looking for college students, interns, things like that. It's awesome. College campuses, if you're in your area, look to them because you can get a lot of help. Also staging help, you can get that there too.
Yep.
How do you get agents to get it?
Numbers.
Great question. Numbers, data,
data. They're data driven. They're numbers driven. So for like example, RESA, we actually have various different reports that are put out like this. If you stage a property, it's X amount of days on the market versus an unstaged property. You need to understand the language and the mentality behind a broker or an agent. And if you can do that and speak to them in a number, hey, if we stage your property, we've seen this kind of decrease in the number of days it's on the market. It'll make you look better. You'll be a high performer. You'll exceed your goals. And then ultimately, be able to do a larger portion of business for each calendar year. So knowing your numbers and being able to sell why staging is essential to their success. And I think that's another great thing. You don't want to come off as if you're trying to gain business from them. You want to come off as a person person who is there to help them achieve their goals. So if they look at you as being more of a partner versus someone who's just trying to sell them something, then you'll find a lot more success with getting agents to be loyal to you, hire you, and ultimately understand the significance behind why they need you as a part of their business model.
Yep, absolutely. It's about collaborating instead of hiring. When you hire someone, you fire someone. When you collaborate with somebody, it is a team effort. So as much as people want to say, how do I get an agent to get it? It's like, why are you not interviewing the agent to see if they're a good fit for you?
It goes both ways.
Goes both ways,
goes
right?
both ways.
So
Yep.
that's one of those things that with you and your business model, even if somebody asks you, what is it that you do? Of course, you're a stager, and you say, you know what? Yeah, I'm looking to collaborate with like-minded agents. And somebody says, oh, what does that mean? Tell me more.
Yeah, what does that mean? Tell me more.
I'll
Pique their
happily
interest.
tell you more what that is. And you
Yeah.
interview them to see if it's a good fit. And again, I'm going to use my boarding stables as an example. On my board, it's called Sisterhood Stables. I'm all about sisterhood. I want women to not be horrible to each other. It makes my skin crawl when I see it. There's no reason for it. We are so much in common.
Yes.
It's just what I'm about. So here we're a boutique equestrian facility. So we're a very unique sisterhood oriented organization facility. So if somebody wants to board here, on the website, it even says, give us a call and we'll schedule an interview. I'm interviewing people to see if they're a good fit.
That's right. You should.
I'm just not going to take anybody's money. I mean, we've got a lot of horses here. They're expensive horses. There's inexpensive horses here. We want a good fit. And that's what you want for your business is you want a good fit. So interview them to make sure that they're a good fit. Tell them what you're looking for. You're looking to collaborate with real estate agents who want to stage the majority of their listings and that you can be their dedicated person on their team. Because I want to work as a team. I'm not looking to do onesies and twosies with people. That's not my business model. Leave it at that.
Right.
Stop speaking. Don't say another word. If you speak before they do, you've lost. Keep
Right.
your mouth shut at that point. Let them talk to you. Take it back to their court. So that's
and that goes back to that comes full circle back to confidence, because that is showing you're confident in what you have to bring to the table, your skill set, and the value you're bringing to the relationship. So you will not look like you're desperate for the business, which, like we said before in the beginning, is a turnoff for many real estate brokers. And ultimately, they will look at you and say, okay, this person is, really adamant about making sure they have the right opportunities and ultimately making sure that they're not just out there looking for any type of business, which makes it seem like you're not really stable in your business. So that's something that I would definitely say would be the key ways to get an agent to be invested in what you do. And if they're not invested, put your best foot forward and move on.
MoveOn.com. I love it. All right. So Rosanna's asking, is virtual design a better way to go these days? Okay. So when we say virtual design, that's different than staging. So I'm not sure, Rosanna, if you mean
virtual staging,
remote staging, or virtual staging where you're taking a naked room and adding furniture through Photoshop. So Rosanna, if you're on here, I don't see that you are. So let's just kind of tackle it. So virtual staging is, in my opinion, a hijacked term, and it's not relevant to what it actually means. What it actually is artist rendering of what a room could potentially look like. Staging is a physical act. It's a physical act of preparing a room or a home for sale. So if you mean virtual, meaning naked room, empty room, Photoshop in the furniture, no, I don't believe that's the right way to go at all. I personally believe it's a bait and switch. If the photos are even allowed on the MLS, because many MLSs will not allow those photos on there. But even if it is, and a potential buyer sees that, and then they go to the house and they walk in, it's empty. You just totally wasted your money. The client wasted their money because they just paid money to stage something and it didn't stage anything. It might have got some foot traffic or some interest online, but when the people get there, it's empty and it doesn't have that connection for them. So there's another term called remote consultations, which is doing a consultation with somebody instead of in person going to their home, doing it through video chat of some method. That's definitely a way to go right now, especially with COVID. There's been a lot of successful people making the switch to remote consultations. So I'm not sure, Rosanna, if I answered that question, because I'm not really sure which you actually mean by virtual design. So if I didn't nail it, send me an email and I will address it with you individually. Okay, so Marianne's asking, as a stager with 18 years and hundreds of jobs completed, is there a way that she can get her license without a class or paying? Marianne, are you on? Marianne is not on. Okay, so when you say get your license, I don't know what you mean. So if you're meaning get a real estate license, no, you got to take a class and you got to pay for it.
Yes,
there's no licensing for staging. But if you mean that you want to get a certification, you can't get a certification without taking a class and particularly taking a test. And I don't know any certifications in staging that are going to do it for free. They are a business just like you are, and you're not going to stage somebody else's home for free, and you can't take a class for free. So I'm really not sure what kind of direction you wanted on that. But definitely, even with 18 years and hundreds of jobs, I think more education is great. I think it's worth it, especially if you want a designation to, put some alphabet after your name, CSP, HSR, whatever, staging studio, whatever it might be. It adds credibility to what it is that you're doing. Now, obviously, your work is always going to speak for itself. So you have beautiful jobs on your website. That's going to speak volumes. But any type of leadership position, if you are national board of directors like Jacquelin, she should be putting that on her website, on her email signatures. All that is about credibility and legitimacy. So even if you have a certification, a designation, and you add that even after 18 years, it's a psychological thing that people look at. People don't know what RESA is. Most people don't know what the National Association of Realtors is. Most homeowners have never heard that. They don't know what the American Medical Association is. But when they walk into a doctor's office and they see the diplomas on the wall and they see information on their website that they belong to the AMA, it breeds credibility. So absolutely, I think it's worth it. And again, if I didn't hit the mark on that one, email me and I'm happy to answer that question. So Jenny wants to know, by attending an open house, do you think it is a good way of meeting agents? Because it's more personal. What do you think, Jacquelin?
I would, I personally wouldn't do that, because an agent is in the mindset of selling the property. Think of it as if you were to have someone come to you and you think that they're a client and they're actually just cold calling you to buy, for you to pay for something. You would be a little annoyed because you thought this was going to be a new client relationship that you might be able to build versus somebody just trying to sell you something. And they're like in the space of wanting to sell the property. So if you're not necessarily there to buy the property, it could be a little bit off-putting for a broker. However, if you're watching certain properties in a neighborhood and you're seeing that there's a certain number of days that it's on the MLS and it's not moving, reaching out and saying, hey, you've got this really great property that I think shouldn't be sitting on the market so long. I mean, I don't know if you're open to it, but I would love to be able to help you achieve your goal in moving that for your client, and be able to build that type of conversation or that type of dialogue to have the relationship. So, I mean, that's my personal opinion. Other people may feel if you just go and just drop a business card, it's fine, but I personally don't do that.
Yeah, you're always going to have different opinions on this. Or there's a lot of people that says, yeah, go to all the open houses, go to the tours, see what's out there. And I like it for doing recon, and you can be out there, but what a lot of people don't realize, and I think this is exactly your point, they're at work.
Yeah.
You're hitting somebody up at work. You just went to their job and you're wanting to sell them something while they're on the clock.
And they're trying to sell the property. So
there's many times, of course, when you walk into an open house and the agent's been there for 3 hours and not one person has come through. That happens.
That's different. Yeah, that's different.
That happens. But especially if you drive by and you see a lot of cars and everything, I would not be going into that property at all, because they're on their job. They're on their job. Find another way is what I would recommend. And then plus two, I think also when you go in, it kind of gets you into the same thing as, can I buy you lunch? Listen, people, they don't want to eat lunch with you. They don't want to eat lunch with you. Real estate agents, I want everybody to hear this. Real estate agents, get hit up by every single service provider
All the time.
in their sphere. So, you know, whatever it might be, recommend me for this, that, or the other. I want to sell you this, that, or the other. They're hit up all the time. Again, be a little bit more elusive.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my 2 cents.
I agree.
What's the best marketing technique for newbies? Go ahead.
The best marketing technique, I would say, for newbies is, like we said before, getting some photos, putting them online, building out a website. You don't have to be extensive with your website, but you want to have a place where they can go and to be able to actually see your work and start to get affiliated with your brand, right? So that's a big part of establishing yourself, is what's your brand? What type of staging do you do? Because it varies. And what type of feel, what type of homes? Maybe you like craftsman homes. Maybe you're more of a, you know, kind of like certain demographics that you feel more comfortable staging for. Maybe the young professional couple, or the bachelor or the bachelorette, or it all varies. So you need to define, I think, before you even start doing marketing, what's your brand? What do you stand for? What are you presenting? Once you've established what that is, and that takes a little bit of, you know, thinking it through, and give yourself some time and space to do that. But once you do that, then, you know, setting yourself up with the website, of course, setting up, you know, as far as if you want to go old school and maybe do like flyers, or if when you're reaching out to people and you're networking, having your business cards and having a cohesive brand across the board. So that way, when they see your logo, when they see the name, depending if you're doing a type font or a graphic, there will be that name recognition that you will consistently build as you scale up in your business. And as far as marketing, social media is great. They are really going back now that a lot of marketing has been known to be sponsored on Instagram and so forth. They're going back to somewhat of the old model with social media, where you have to pay to play. So if you don't really have the money to do that, then looking, like Shell said before, like networking, joining the associations, getting the word of mouth out there never hurts anybody. Right now with COVID, it may not be as plausible, but there are a lot of people sitting at home, and you can definitely do like a blog, or you could do like maybe even a YouTube, where you're showing, like, say, for example, okay, I'll give you a case. If you say that you're starting right now, say you haven't really done anything, you're starting right now. You find a family member, maybe it's your mom, your dad, or a friend, or your own home, and you're going through staging that room. You could actually document it, where you could say, okay, this is the room, the before, do it in the, you know, the photos, the before. And you can also add video, where you're saying this is the before, and you're doing a little walkthrough. Well, I'm putting this here because it accentuates the higher ceilings. I'm doing this, and then building that out. And that builds a certain sense of trust, because a lot of platforms like House and Instagram have the stories. So if you're doing that, that becomes a more tangible marketing tool that is very low in cost, but will establish who you are, what your personality is, how you work with people, what their experience will be, and ultimately gives them a taste of what they're going to get if they purchase your package or hire your company for their project. That will also resonate with real estate brokers, because you're not doing the hard sell, but they get a feel for what it would be like to work with you. So when you do reach out, you can say, oh yeah, I'm doing this and that, and I have this amount of traction with it, and I'm really good at it, and ultimately these are my prices, and I'd like to build a relationship with you. That's a low cost way for you to be able to establish your brand and you, and what you bring to the experience. Because a lot of what we're doing now in business is not so much hard selling, it's about delivering an experience. So if you're working with a real estate broker, they want the experience of you're thorough, you're organized, you're going to come in, I could just pass it off to you, know that everything's going to be done, know that I'm going to be able to move this property quickly and move on to the next one. You're making their life easier. If it's a homeowner, they are sometimes, especially if this is the first time selling their home, or if they're a little bit trepidatious about what their next step will be, they want to feel comfortable. They want to trust you. They want to know that you're coming into their home and you're going to be considerate of it. You're going to be respectful. You could relay that in video more so than you can in photos. So the combination of the two, that would be maybe an option for any of you who might want to try it, where if you're going and you're doing that first photo shoot or that first room and you don't really have an extensive portfolio, you might want to consider just documenting it with a video aspect and just, adding some quick little, oh, I'm putting up these curtains and I'm putting them at this height on the wall because it'll make the room feel taller, which gives it a sense of being more open, and people love square footage. So just little things like that. And it also makes anyone watching it feel that you know what you're talking about, which also increases your level of credibility and therefore would make it easier for you to gain the type of clientele that you want. And marketing, especially on a social media space, is heavily moving to video. So it's better for you to be ahead of that curve than behind it and trying to catch up. So that's an option that I would think, as far as marketing for a technique that you could integrate, that would be low cost and very relatively easy to do.
Yeah, I love that idea of documenting, like a staging, part of a staging, because you can also turn it into, it might end up being 30 minutes long, but you can break it down into 5 minutes, part 1, part 2, part 3.
Yeah.
That way you have a whole series attached to it. Then you can even do it further, just doing little tips. Here's a little tip in the bathroom. Fold your towels this way, or
exactly.
This is why you want to hang the drapes. If you have higher ceilings, do them, 6 inches above where the window is, or whatever the standard is for that. Do those and break them down and be able to get them out here. And I'm going to take this one step further. Marketing techniques. This is for anybody, whether you're new or seasoned. It does not matter. Market directly to people that need your services today, right now.
Yes.
So how you do that? The best way that I found is to use a realtor website, a home selling website. And I'm going to say use Redfin is the one that I found that I like the best. It's not in all areas quite yet. At least it wasn't like a year or two ago, but it's great because you can actually do a query and you can say, give me all of the homes within so much of a radius of this zip code. So if that's the area that you want to work in, do that. And then do a query, everything that's been on the market for more than 6 months. So you do that, and then you can export that list into an Excel spreadsheet. You can then look at every single listing on that website. And if you're doing vacants, look at all the vacants. And then you're going to create a flyer. And I want you to put an amazing photo on the flyer of your work and have the caption say, has your home been on the market for more than 6 months with no offers? Or has your listing, if you're going to send it to the agent,
a broker,
one could be the homeowner, one could be to the agent, and they say, call us, or you can quote a RESA statistic. RESA, statistics state that XYZ, whatever stat that you want to use to support staging. Or if you've staged a home in that neighborhood and it has what I call a claim to fame, it sold in X amount of days for X over list price, or just X amount of days, or whatever it might be. We sold this house in your neighborhood for X amount over list price and sold in 4 days. Call us, we can help. If you don't have a statistic of your own, use a RESA stat, and then mail that flyer to them, snail mail. Stick it in an envelope. Have your envelope be branded, but handwrite it.
Yes.
That way they open it. Snail mail, nobody uses that anymore. They just don't.
It works. But
it works.
It works.
It's tried, it's true, it's trusted. So try that and send them a flyer that way. And then also when you take that from Redfin and you download this into a spreadsheet, what you should do is you should drip more information to them. So if you do a homeowners workshop, let's say you want to do a workshop for homeowners, and let's say you had a warehouse. We're just thinking big, but do it wherever you want. If you have a warehouse, you want to do a workshop, say I'm doing a workshop on this day at this time, call me to reserve your spot if you're selling your home. And that way it's a DIY consultation, but it's just in a workshop. So a lot of people will say, well, why do I want to teach somebody how to stage for themselves when I want that job? You're thinking small-minded thinking, expand it, because this is why you want to do this. You're teaching a workshop. You are now an instructor. You are now a whole nother level of credibility when you're doing this. And in reality, if you're doing a consultation where you're going into a homeowner and it's an occupied listing and they just want the consult, tell me everything that I can do to stage my home on my own. You're doing that anyway, right? So why not call it a workshop and have 3 couples come instead of going to somebody else's house? They send you pictures ahead of time. You can put it up on a projector, on a screen. You click right through it. You give everybody the advice. You have dialogue with everybody. They answer the questions. It's a whole full rounded workshop. So you take the one flyer, send it to them. Been on the market X amount of days, call me, I can help. 2 weeks later, come to my workshop. See what I'm saying? Next week later, send them another flyer with a different photo on it, different claim to fame. Next couple of weeks later, send them another workshop flyer. If you do that, then on that Excel spreadsheet, you can add extra columns, what you sent, when you sent it, and then over time, you'll be able to determine it takes me 2 flyers before somebody calls me.
Right.
Or it might be four attempts before somebody calls me. You'll be able to figure out your ratio. So that's a really good marketing method to market to people that are actually on the market who need your help.
Yeah, when it comes to marketing, data is your friend. You have to be comfortable and track what you're doing. So that way you know what's working and what's not working. Otherwise, you're wasting valuable time that you could be earning new projects.
Yep. And this marketing method is very inexpensive because how much does it take to print one flyer from your own printer, and make sure it's a great one? If you don't have a great printer, then you're going to have to get it professionally printed out of Staples or something. But even with that, one copy is not a lot of money.
No.
And then it's stamped and it's an envelope and it's a little bit of your time to do the recon, but it's very well worth it.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so CC wants to know, what is the most important thing a home stager could do to a real estate listing that will help with getting noticed? I think you need to stage it beautifully. If you stage it beautifully and that agent uses professional photography, that's what's going to get it noticed.
Yeah, I would agree. Staging it beautifully, accentuating all of its strong features, taking away from some of it that might not work as well. And again, when I said the experience, whoever is looking at purchasing a home is an emotional venture. So you want to create, you don't want to make it specific and that's why staging is so important, because a lot of homeowners is very specific to them, but you want to make it where a certain demographic based on who the broker or who the homeowner is trying to sell the home to can really envision themselves living in the space, right? You want them to have that emotional connection where they feel like, okay, that looks really nice and this room looks really great. It has great light and what have you, but I can really see myself living there. Like that's what moves homes quickly. And ultimately that's the goal you're trying to achieve, is to move homes as quickly as possible, whether it be for the broker or the agent or for the individual homeowner.
Could not agree more. So we've got a question in the chat box from Melody. She wants to know if Redfin lists the homeowner's contact information. Hasn't been able to find that. I do not believe they do that. They'll list the agent's information, but you'll have the address. So just snail mail it to the actual address. And let's, okay, Susan's emailing me privately here. Thanks so much for the useful information, taking the time. Absolutely, Susan, happy she's having to pop off. There's the replay of this that will go out, but we've still got some time. So if anybody has questions that we haven't covered, go ahead and drop them in that chat box. And we were happy to stay on for a few more minutes and cover any of your questions. In the meantime, what I want to do is I just want to talk about training for a minute. Now, we do this Newbie webinar. I've been doing this for a year and a half, 2 years, every first Thursday of every month. And I love doing them. But one thing that I will tell you is that the questions that we get, they're pretty consistent for everybody. And the one thing that I can always tell you is that you don't know what you don't know. And training is king. You've got to get training. So RESA, we are a trade association. And what we have done is we accredit training providers. So these are our 4 accredited training providers. And what that means is they have filled out a lengthy application and send us all their information, including their books, their manuals, their policies, their procedures, our very lengthy application. And they usually send it to me in a couple binders that are about this tall when you stack them up together. It's no joke. We really look at everything and we make sure that they hit at least 62 standards that we've created in order to start your staging business. And it's checks and balances. They either meet it or they don't meet it. It's not about opinion. It's not a matter if we like them or anything along those lines. It's either you met it or you don't. If they didn't meet it for some reason, they get a denial letter telling them where they fell short, what else they need to write into their program, or how they can fix them. And then they can have 6 months to fix it and they resubmit it. The great thing about being RESA accredited is that it's kind of a stamp of approval, right? So we have properly vetted them. We check their references. They actually agree to be able to have complaints lodged against them through RESA. And we will do everything that we can to mitigate any complaint. But what I'm happy to tell you, not one ever not one ever from any of these accredited training providers. So in my opinion, if you chose any one of these, you would be super happy with them. And so if you're looking at training and you want to choose one, this is what I recommend that you do. Go to the RESA website, hover over the education menu button. You're going to get a drop down, and that drop down is going to say home staging training. Go ahead and click on that, or home staging education. Click on that and you're going to see all these beautiful logos. Click on each logo and then you're going to find a full page, everything about their particular training. Go to the next one, do the same thing, review everybody's, and then follow through to their websites. Cross off the list whatever one doesn't appeal to you for whatever reason, and then whittle that down, and then call everybody, or actually call all 4 of them. Talk to them. They're happy to talk to you. They're happy to send you references. You can speak to other stagers that have taken their program. And if you use this method, you're going to pick the one that's going to vibe with you the best. Here's some key things to remember as well. If you do not have an environment that's conducive to online learning, meaning if you are at home and you are remote schooling your 3 children at home and the dog pees on the floor and she's touching me and he's looking at me and where's my roller skates and mom, we just chopped ramen on the floor, you might want to go away for 3 or 4 days and go to an in-person staging class. Just saying.
Yeah.
You might appreciate that time away. And then when you do that in an in-person staging class, you're going to actually be sitting in a classroom with other people. You're going to get the live interaction and you're going to be with some peers that are going through the same thing that you are. Now, on the flip side, if you have an environment that is conducive to online learning, stay home and do the online learning. If that's something that you enjoy, you can get into that. We've got a lot of great courses that will do things online. So check out all those, use those kind of tips to determine what it is that you need. Don't necessarily make a choice just because something might be in your backyard. Many people have to fly somewhere. We can't have classes in every single metropolitan area, although most of the in-person classes do have them pretty much spread out throughout the US and Canada. But just because it's not in your backyard doesn't mean it's not worth it. Make the investment. This is something just like a contract. It's the foundation of your business. And without it, you wobble. Your foundation is not solid, and you need that solid foundation in order to grow the business. So we have a couple other questions over here. Okay. Betty just asked how stagers can use Redfin or other platforms to pinpoint agents to market to. The process that I just described is perfect. And you can do this on any of those platforms, realtor.com, Zillow, whatever. That also has the agent's information. I have found that Redfin has the most data at the time when I researched doing this. I wrote a class on it a couple years ago, so I prefer Redfin, but you're welcome to use any one, and they have the agent's information there, and you can send information directly to the agent. Just change your marketing message to, do you have a listing that has been on the market for more than X amount of days with no offers? Call me, I can help. Chrissy's saying she's seen stagers use a tile accredited or certified for both themselves and their businesses. What's the difference and what do you recommend? I looked into it and found the accredited for a business is through Better Business Bureau. She's completed HSR and Staging Studio.
Nice.
So great for you for getting the education. I think that is awesome. So there is a designation called the Accredited Staging Professional, ASP. That's the name of a private company's designation. Most people, it's kind of like Kleenex these days. A lot of people say I'm accredited, I'm certified, no matter where it is that they've gone, and they often use it not correctly. So if you took the CSP, Certified Staging Professionals course, and you say I'm an accredited stager, that is not the correct term. They did not accredit you. You're certified through them. So you would use the word "we're certified." I've never seen a stager say they have an accredited business. I've never actually seen that.
Neither.
So I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, so most, I will say this, that most, like with our accreditation, we accredit institutions. Most of the RESA accredited training provider program, the education program, this was written many years ago because a company called Haverhill, or Haverhell, as I like to refer to them, came on scene, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on HGTV ads, and ripped off literally thousands of people. False claims of income, false job promises, you name it. My phone was ringing left and right. Shell, what do we
Oh
do? What
my
do we do?
gosh.
And it was like, I can do nothing for you. They do not work with us. They are not part of our network. They are in their own private Idaho. There was literally nothing that I could do. However, I went to bed one night and said, I'm never going to sleep again if I don't solve this problem. So I said, you know what? I can solve this to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody in the future. So we will offer an accreditation for businesses. We accredit the business. So that's where we review the companies, their policies, their procedures, what subjects they teach, and they have to meet our standards that we've created or they don't get our accreditation. So that's a good third-party endorsement of a company to know that if you do fly across the country and you go to an in-person class with the expert psychological stager or with CSP, they're going to be there when they say they're going to be there.
Right.
And that's the important part about this when you're looking at what accredited school that you're going to attend, is that any one of these, I don't think anybody would be disappointed with any of them, no matter which one that you chose. Now we have another question here. To stage luxury apartments or new townhome developments, how would you recommend reaching out to developers? Okay, so luxury apartments, if they're for sale, they're going to be for sale through the agent. So you're going to go that way as well. You can also speak to the building managers in any type of development or a homeowners association. A lot of times the condominiums will have an HOA, and you can always reach out to the HOA and see, is there an agent that sells in this neighborhood? Because I know my mentor, she sold in lots of neighborhoods, but this one particular development, I don't even know if another agent has ever sold a house there, quite honestly. She's been there I've known her for over 30 years. And
Wow.
yeah, well over 30 years. And I met her when I was 5. And she just has that locked down. So if you go to the HOA, a lot of times they'll be able to recommend you, but you just reach out. If it's a new development, again, you reach out to the builders, and sometimes you can end up doing the model homes, stage the model homes. Because a lot of time back in the day, I remember the first house that I ever saw staged, I was actually about 11 or 12 years old. It was in Discovery Bay, California, which is in the East Bay. And I remember walking into this model home, and we were looking at buying a home, and it was on a lake called Discovery Bay and man-made lake. And it was just the new and upcoming thing. And I remember we opened the door to the girls' room. It's still my heart. I still remember it. It makes me verklempt when I think about it. It had white eyelet bedding. It had a nice little fluffy, teddy bear on this white shelving unit up on the wall. And I just remember walking in going, we need to buy this house. I love this.
I want to live here, mommy. Let's buy it now.
This is where I want to live. When can we make this happen? And we didn't, but that was one of the things that I always remembered. So back in the day, those types of model homes were actually done by designers back then, and they did the full home. I mean, It was full on, and we actually ended up buying one of the model home units that it was actually used. The garage was turned into the office for the development. We ended up buying that one with all the furniture in it one year. And, and I love that place too. It was done really well. So yeah, reach out to the developers, because a lot of times they'll use stagers now instead of designers.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Candace is asking, I'm looking to start up a consultation-based business. Does anyone use any sort of disclaimers? If you follow my advice, the property still doesn't sell, I'm not liable for any financial recourse. Don't want to put clients off. Great idea. Don't put them off. Don't say that.
Yeah.
Don't even say anything like that. You don't need a disclaimer.
No, you don't.
Somebody powerful information. And the bottom line that comes to this, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. I've got 12. I've tried. It does not work. It's just one of those things. You just give the information. It's whether they choose to use it, use some of it or all of it. It is not
on them.
It's on them. You've been paid for your job. You're in and you're out. That's the great thing about consultation-based businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I hope that was good for everybody.
I hope
Jacquelin,
so too. Yes.
I am so having you back again. I hope you liked this, because
I did. I'll remember to put my lights on next time early, because it's a different time of year, and I'm still like in summer mode where it's like light until like 8 o'clock here. So I'll remember to turn my lights on next time. But yeah, I
problem,
definitely
no
would love to
problem.
come
Like I
back.
said,
This was
I've
fun.
got my big lights in back of my computer facing at me, and now I just looked outside and it's like, it is getting dark already.
Yeah,
out
it's getting
here.
dark. But
I
yeah,
know, it's like,
I definitely would love to come back if you want to have me. And I really
oh my God, I
sincerely
would
hope
totally
this
have
is
you.
helpful to everyone.
I do too. I love doing these, and you've got a great vibe about you. I'm super excited about working with you. And do you know what you said earlier? I don't even know that you said it, but I wanted to stop at the point, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it, but now I'm going to. So you said, we have a lot of resources at RESA.
Yes.
So you're already one of us.
I'm already made myself mentally. I'm a part of RESA and
You're
very
part of
much
RESA.
invested.
Love it.
Very much invested in everything we're going to do and want to help as many people as possible, all different walks of life, all different socioeconomic backgrounds, education. If you're transitioning from a new job to this, whatever your issues may be, that challenges, like, you can do this. And I'm so proud and so honored to be a part of RESA now and be able to help as many people as possible and learn from great people like Shell, because I'm new to this. So, definitely looking for the mentorship from her and everybody else as a part of the RESA community, and just hoping we continue to do extremely great work and help as many people as possible to really succeed and thrive in their ambitions.
Well, I'm super jazzed to have you on board. I know we're all looking forward. You made quite an impression, I know, through the whole committee process and coming onto the board. You made quite an impression on everybody. So I'm very thankful that you joined the board of directors. It's super excited. We're happy to have you on board.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking your time out of your day today to
You're
be
welcome.
with me. Everybody else, thank you so much for being with me. Until
Thanks,
next time,
guys.
bye, everybody.
Bye.